Alright guys, this is our first lesson. Right now we're going to work on the proportions of a face. But first there's a couple of little things we need to discuss before we start the actual drawing part of our lesson. First of all, faces are all different. They're all completely different of one another. That's what makes a person distinct from another person. So, I'm going to talk about different shapes and certain proportions that make a face unique. So, for example, let's start with Paul McCartney of the Beatles. This is actually a really good reference for faces because, honestly, any magazine, book, or anything is really good for face references because you can look at the differences between different people's faces. Now, this is the book that was closest to me, so I thought I'd use it as an example. So, let's look at Paul McCartney's face. Paul has a very round, soft-looking face there. His face just has a nice slope to it. Unlike John, he has a very angular, kind of square face. Shapes define everything in art, especially faces and people. So, let's look at George. George and Ringo both have kind of similar facial structures, kind of square, longish. And, let's look at their individual features. Like their eyes, they have completely different shaped eyes. Like Ringo's are a little narrower than, say, Paul's, who has, like, wide eyes. And their noses are all different. Like John and Ringo have bigger noses than Paul and George do. And, another important thing is your diversity. Your ethnic background. Depending on where you're from, you can have a certain facial feature that defines your overall appearance of the face. So you also want to study diversity in faces and different proportions that different races have. The shapes of your eyebrows, your hair, your ears, your mouth, everything defines a face. So that is the most important thing to remember about drawing a face, is making it look different than a generic person. But today, I'm just going to teach you basic proportions and how to basically do a face, but these are things to keep in mind. Another really important thing to remember about faces is age. The faces of children tend to be softer and rounder than an adult. It all depends on the person, though. Some adults can have very round, pudgy faces, but all children are just very round and soft-looking. And alright, so this is another really good book that I have for art references. Basically, I use this to transfer. This is The Art of Toy Story 3. I bought this book a couple years ago, and it's helped a lot in defining my cartoon style, but still following the rules of humans. So we're going to get into this in the next lesson. So I just wanted to show you something in here. It's how Andy is drawn. This is Andy from the first movie. He's around 6. Notice how his face is a lot rounder than 17-year-old Andy. So notice the transformation of faces as he ages up. And this is what the Pixar animators use as a reference to show Andy aging. So every year, your face changes a little bit. It gets more angular and thins out, all that fun stuff. So those are just some basics I wanted to teach you about faces before we got started. So why don't we get started? I'm not actually going to draw Paul McCartney, but I'm just going to use his head shape as a reference. So, got your pencil, got your eraser, everything you need. So let's get started. First, you want to draw a circle. Circles are pretty much the definition of life in art. Circles will help you draw anything, especially when you're doing joints in the body, which we'll get into a later lesson. So there's your circle. Doesn't have to be perfect. Nothing has to be perfect in your sketch. This is just basic and beginner stuff. So next, you want to draw a guideline. This is your first guideline. It's going to go straight down the middle. Try to get it as center-fried as possible. This is the guideline you will use to draw the rest of the face. Then you want to draw another guideline about right here in the middle, making a cross, like a cross shape. So now you have your two guidelines. Here's going to be more guidelines, but we'll get into that. So straighten out your circle a little bit so it's equal on both sides. Now this doesn't look like a face yet, does it? Well, of course not. Well, we're still getting into it. So next, you want to draw two curves connecting the circle and the guideline. This is the higher part of the cheekbone, usually. Of course, it's not going to be perfectly proportioned. Nothing is yet. Next, you want to draw another curve connecting the bottom of this guideline to the center of this. Now they must perfectly connect. Make sure you have a nice little round for the chin. Again, faces are all going to be different. The chins are going to be different shapes. The jaws are going to be different shapes. But this is just to teach you how to proportionize. So, now we have a head. Wow, we drew a head. Pretty cool, huh? Alright, let's just clean this up a little bit. You're always going to want to keep making adjustments and turning your paper and making sure everything is what you want it to be. Again, a sketch, not going to be perfect. Next, you want to draw the ears, which will start right here, like where the circle kind of connects to the line, and will end around halfway down this guideline. So next, you want to draw a nice shape for the ears. Ears are also different shapes and sizes. Older people tend to have larger ears. That's a little fun fact for you. So next, the neck. The neck will start at the ear, curve down like this, and go out. Like so. Necks are actually thicker than you think they are. They can go in a little bit, but they are not this thin. That is not how proportions work. That's how I drew when I was 12, however. So there you have, starting to look more and more like a human being, isn't it? So it's pretty amazing how shapes can suddenly transform into art. Alright, so next is your eye guideline, which will start right here where the ear begins and go out like that. Your eyes will begin around here-ish, but we'll get into that after. So now you have the shape of a head. Alright, let's start cleaning up a little bit. So, thickening up your outer lines. Make sure your sketch lines are light. Don't ever go down on the paper like this. Look at how hard this is to erase. Still there. However, when you draw lightly, you can't see it as well. So make sure you're just sketching like this and not, if you know what I mean. Alright, so let's straighten out my guideline a little bit and make it more clear because I got a lot of weird little sketch lines right there. If you'd like, you can use a ruler. I actually don't have one on me, but rulers will make nice clean guidelines, but I'm just drawing freehand right now. Alright, let's start with the eyes. You want to create an oval first. This is the hardest part of the lesson. This is all about your own individual drive, because this will take a lot of practice, but it'll help you the best I can. The eyes will go to about here. So you have a nice oval shape. You actually want to clean them up and make them smaller. Nobody has eyes that big. So you want to keep playing with proportions. Look at your own eyes. Look at yourself in the mirror and look at the size of your eyes compared to the rest of your face. A cool little way to draw eyes, proportionately, draw another eye in the middle. You're going to erase that eye, of course. This is how you space out your eyes equally. So next, you draw the next eye, connected to your middle eye, which is your guide eye. So now you have equally spaced eyes. Now we're going to clean those up. So erase your third eye. Alright, let's smooth these out a little bit. Make them equal. Alright. Let's draw that guideline back in. Let's make sure the eyes are equally placed. So, eyes have these little pockets. You always want to make sure you draw the edges of the eye, because it's going to be a circle, but your eye is actually round inside. Let's make these. You want to keep adjusting. I cannot show you how to adjust properly, but this is all on your own kind of thing. Just keep adjusting until you get the shape of an eye. Another thing is drawing in where the eyelashes go. Just so you know, both genders have eyelashes. A lot of people tend to not draw men with eyelashes. Don't give them really long eyelashes. Let's look at Paul McCartney. He has like those nice thick little eyelashes right there. Alright, so let's clean this up a little bit. I am actually never really good at drawing eyes. So let's keep adding those little details. Next, the eyelids. Very lightly, very, very lightly. And then those little pockets under the eyes. Alright, pupil. Perfect circle inside. Perfect circle inside. And then another circle inside. It's important that you look at an eye when you're drawing it, because eyes are actually the hardest detail on a face to draw. Next, I want you to draw these lines for the eyebrows. Again, eyebrows are all different kinds of shapes. But these will be special helpful guidelines when you draw the nose. So as you go along, keep finalizing little details and editing it. And these eyes actually look a little large. So size them down a little bit. Also, turning your paper is a little helpful guide for when you're making edits. I turn my paper a lot when I'm erasing and fixing things and whatnot. So, we've made those eyes a little more smaller and proportionate. So let's shade in the pupil so we know that is the pupil. This is not going to look like a specific person. This is just more about teaching you how to do proportions and show you where everything goes and whatnot. There. Now, the eyes is a part you're going to probably focus the most on when you're first drawing it, because it's just so difficult to get them both to look equally alike. So let's leave that alone for now. I just know that how to draw eyes, but again, drawing eyes is going to take a lot of practice. Clean up the ears a little bit. Alright, next is the nose. The nose will begin at this guideline, right here. A little bit down, halfway through the ear. Your nose is actually going to line up with the bottom of your ear. So, let's draw number 3. And then draw a U. That is a terrible nose. I'm trying to think of how to describe how to draw a nose. Alright. Draw a line right here. There. That's your nose guideline. If you notice, noses all have the same curve. Like that curvy W kind of shape. Let's look. You want to draw 2 lines on the side of your nose guideline. And then you want to give it a tip so it'll connect to your middle guideline. And then you want to erase that line. Ta-da! A nose. And you want to curve out your nose a little bit. Those eyes are actually really big. Almost too big, so maybe I'll go back to those. Let's fix up the nose a little bit, finalize it. Next, the lips. You want to go about half the size of that nose to right here, to where your lips will begin. Draw some lines to where your lips will end. Your lips will actually end where the eye begins, if not before. Alright. Your eyes are going to be important guidelines, so make sure you definitely focus on those eyes. Alright. So, your lips will begin there. Curve out and then dip down, just right there. And then move back out and end there. There, you have a mouth. Again, men do have lips. Don't draw them without them. They're just thinner than a woman's. I'm actually going to say this is a man because of the angle of the face. When you're drawing a woman, Google a picture. It'll actually help you. So the lips have a boat shape kind of deal going on there. So, there. Might want to thin that out a little bit. Again, you're always making adjustments. And then your upper lip is always thinner than your bottom. It has a M shape. Your lip will dip right where the tip of the nose is, right there, and go in. Your bottom lip is longer than your upper lip, so your upper lip should end before your bottom lip does. So add these little lines and details. Alright, so look, we have some facial features and awful eyes. I'm sure I can probably give you an individual lesson on eyes in a second. So let's erase the guidelines now and see how it looks. Whoa, we drew a face, you guys. Alright, let's finalize our features. Sketch a little darker. He has no hair. I know what I can do. Hooray! So again, this is going to take lots of practice. I just wanted to teach you basic proportions and how they're done. So I hope that you found this helpful and you can successfully draw a decent looking human face, knowing how the nose is and the eyes are and the lips. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a private message on Starmen. I can probably help you with some different parts if you're struggling. So, again, let me know if you need any help. And I hope you found this helpful. I don't know how many times I said help in one sentence, but regardless. Our next lesson, I'll teach you some body proportions, which means I'm not going to go into detail, but I'm going to teach you how the body is proportionate and where each part goes. I'm just adding some details to make it look more finalized. Again, if you need some individual lessons, I can probably give you some, so feel free to shoot me a PM and I can probably help you out. But this concludes our face lesson. Hope you found that helpful. See you later, guys.